Hello and welcome to the podcast. This is a new
everybody.
podcast.
It might have been like demon possessed. It was a fairly large, mutated looking chicken.
We were born in the north, but we grew up in the south.
We learned all of our words from Pennsylvania.
And people are that's toboggan. That little toboggan.
Not
there.
a toboggan. Toboggan is a sled. Okay.
0.3 inches, baby.
Dude, I can't take it. Hello.
Yeah. We're here. We are recording, and we are ready to do the episode that we've been talking about for a couple weeks now.
Oh, but kind of.
Look, it took a little preparation.
Just a little.
Preparation.
Yeah, there you go. We didn't actually get to watch one of the... I didn't watch... Yeah. There was some things I was going to watch, but I didn't. So we're kind of going... We're kind of going off of some of the other movies and the book.
Other movies and the book. But
yeah.
Well, before we get into all that, how has your week been? Today was warm. It felt great.
It was great. Well,
dude, the sun was out. It was warm outside. You know what I did? On the way home from work, I put my window down.
Oh,
I blasted some music.
Yeah, me too.
And I was cruising, man. I was feeling a little bit weird because I work in a cave all day. And then when I came outside and it was sunny and it was warm, and it was fresh air, ripped my mask off my face. And I'm like...
Yeah. That was... I was going in and out all day.
Unhook your bra, too?
I took my bra off. Let me tell you.
Well, you see, I'm going in and out, so I'm in the building working, but then occasionally I just walk outside and I'm like,
yeah. It was nice,
and then it was really windy,
really
windy.
It's great.
I couldn't open the door for a second. It got
you know
what
I was trying to do for? Well, it wasn't my job, but I went and helped this other guy do it.
What?
Put up a sign. Bolt.
We're putting up a tent today.
Yeah. It was
it's
the
nice
worst.
Outside, it's windy, but we're going to put up a tent.
I came at the tail end of it to help him out because he couldn't do it by himself with the wind. And this guy was like cussing and stuff. He's like, I've been doing this for like an hour and a half. And it should have been like a 5-minute job. But because of this wind, he was so mad.
Oh, did you guys ever see the video where the wind is blowing so hard? It's like a church event or something, but like... They have porta potties and a tent and everything is just like blowing up into the air, and one of the porta potties just like it takes off. People are running, getting their kids out of the way of the destruction.
Yeah,
just like
I have not seen that.
Porta potties are flying away. Imagine being one of those guys. Oh no,
Carl.
Friggin', there's that one old Vine where it's on the beach and it's showing things blow around.
Yeah.
What is it? It's like go and then it switches and it has
it's
dubstep music.
Like run, boom,
run.
Yeah, the guy's like throws something at all the umbrellas rolling towards him.
Man, Vine, where have you gone, sir?
Yeah.
Man,
sad.
Whatever Vine might be referred to as, whatever your preferred pronoun is.
You know what? Here's the problem.
With Vine?
Is that people only remember the fun stuff, the good stuff, the great stuff, but there was so much trash on Vine. There was just as much trash media as there is on TikTok. If TikTok was deleted today, right, we'd be like, man, I miss there was some good content. There were some
good talks, bro.
Yes, just some good ticks.
Some good ticks. There's some good ticks out there. There's some good ticks, man.
Yeah.
We're on TikTok, if you're interested.
We haven't posted in a little bit, but I was posting for a while, yeah.
Because it's a shame.
Now check out my Renegade.
Because it's a little bit of...
No.
Hold up.
It's a little bit of a shameful thing, in my opinion.
I mean, it's just clips from the podcast is what it is.
Yeah, it's the same thing we kind of have on Instagram, but if you go to TikTok more than you go to Instagram, go check us out there.
But TikTok has the ability to... essentially what is that, like little react to other videos on TikTok, which has given rise to some of the greatest memes. I mean, and some of the like the sea shanty thing that's been going around. Have you seen that?
I don't think so, actually.
Where they're really, you haven't seen the sea shanty stuff?
Well, I'm not on TikTok.
Well, the one guy will start singing the sea shanty. I don't know what it's called, but it goes, "Soon may the weatherman come."
Oh, yeah,
bring
yeah.
us sugar
I have,
and tea
yeah.
and rum. Right, and then somebody will duet, is what it's called. They'll duet it.
Yeah.
And sing a different harmony, and so you've got like 5 people, and they're all singing,
And
and
is it
it
usually
sounds really good.
You just listen to a bunch of these little clips of people
Yeah.
duetting together the same song.
Some of the
That
duets
sounds
are
actually
really
fun,
funny.
though.
Yeah.
We talked a bit about TikTok a while back, I think, me and Joshua, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Is what it is.
It is what it is. But you
Yeah.
talking about facial hair earlier.
No, yeah.
Friggin',
He's like, don't draw attention to it.
how about this guy? Look at my neck beard.
It looks good.
Yeah.
Coming in.
Yeah,
It's pretty thick.
I want these to grow.
See, but look at mine. Mine's not even that thick up here either. That's why I don't let it full beard.
Yeah,
come through.
but
You know
I don't-
we're
but you have
early 20s
this,
when we
which I
talking
don't
about
have,
this.
which I'd like.
Yeah.
What, Joshua?
So,
We're early 20s or late 20s for you because you're an old man.
Hey,
mid
well,
20s.
But,
mid-20
When we're like, I wish I had a beard. I wish I was part of that beard club.
the beard club. That's what I'm saying, dude. We need to start getting the beard club or whatever that one company is. Start putting oils on our face, get big old beards, all 3 of us,
And then they'll sponsor us.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'd be down to get sponsored by a beard company.
Maybe.
That's awesome. I'd be into that.
So you guys want to get into this topic? I have been waiting for this for
I've been
weeks.
dying. Yeah.
Who was it that came up with said we needed to do this?
I think we had been on a
Conversation.
We had just watched the movie, right? And then we were like, you know, what would be a
gotta
really
do-
good topic.
Yeah.
It's just this movie.
I will say, growing up, Peter Pan is what we're talking about.
Yeah. I was gonna
Peter Pan has always been
introduce it in
such
a little
a
bit more of a dramatic way.
Yeah, I know.
Go ahead.
well. Peter Pan has always been like, I don't know, like a special story to me. I don't know. I've always grown up watching some sort of version of Peter Pan.
Yes.
That I've loved this story so much. It's so good. I don't know why, but it's
Okay,
one of my favorites.
Okay, so first reactions, do you still love the story? I guess all 3 of us. Do you
Yes.
still love the story after
This
reading
is the
the book?
second time I've listened to it, and yeah,
Listened
I
to the
really
book?
do enjoy the story.
I do. I think I like it more because I have some theories that we'll get into.
Okay. Well, since we're doing that, since we're starting, I'm gonna go to the first slide, which we'll probably stick on for a little bit.
Yeah.
So while he's doing that, in preparation for this, we all read the book or listened to the book, audiobook, the original Peter Pan book.
Which was actually a play. It was a play before it was a book.
It was.
Yes.
It was called the Peter Pan
Peter
and the
Wendy.
Lost Boys Who Wouldn't Grow Up or something like
Yeah,
that.
and Hook actually wasn't the villain. He sort of as Barry started introducing more and fleshing out the story more, Hook became the villain.
Yeah.
But originally the villain was Peter Pan.
Yeah.
Right. Was the main. He wasn't like the villain, but he was the main sort of
Trouble of the story.
Yeah, the trouble. He was the trouble.
He was the trouble.
The
of
driving
narrative,
force.
The narrative play.
So we're going to mostly talk about, there's a lot of just a little bit tweaked versions of Peter Pan, but we're mostly going to be talking about the book, I think.
Which we can talk about the films. I have a slide.
we can films, anything, but I think the book is what I want to talk about because I got a lot out of it
course.
when I was reading it.
Well, let me. I don't. Do you want to start, or can I ask a question?
Ask a question,
to-
and I want to get into all
All
kinds
right.
of stuff.
What do you think the significance of the kiss is? Because there's a whole thing about there's a kiss that sort of lingers in the corner of Wendy's mother's mouth.
See, okay, I don't know, but the whole book is very cryptic, and I think that's what it's supposed to be.
It's supposed to be whimsical.
Okay, that's a better
Whimsical.
describing word.
Dark whimsy is how I would define this
But-
genre.
Yeah.
Even like my theory of actually what Peter Pan is, he's a boy, but there's a theory behind it, and I'll get into that later on in the episode.
Or at least what he represents outside of being a physical boy.
See, yes, he is a boy, but I don't think we should look at him as a boy.
No way, no.
He is something, and we'll get into that. But and how they even talk about, there's a part in the book where the mom is like, she's rummaging through the kid's thoughts at night, and she sees Peter Pan, or she comes across the thought of Peter Pan.
I think what that is, actually, what that's referring to is when she's talking to them in the evening, or they're telling her stories as she puts them
why did the
to bed.
author say it in that way?
Okay,
then?
you're getting into, you guys are diving in too quickly.
Yeah.
Well,
To
it's
something I like to talk about at length.
because it's whimsical.
Yeah.
Right? It's whimsical to, instead of the kids are telling their mother about the stories they've had and the thoughts that they've thought. Instead of saying that, it's more poetic to say that, she's rummaging through their thoughts, and she's making sure that they're not having
Let's hold the
bad
brakes.
thoughts.
Hold the brakes here. Go back to the kiss, or at least
I
do
have
a little
theory.
reverse.
I have a theory
Okay.
about the kiss.
Yes.
I think I haven't made a complete connection, but I have a theory that it has something to do, because there's a lot of things I need to get into. I'm trying to compartmentalize what I say without revealing too much, because we're going to talk about length for a number of things. I think the kiss on the side of the mouth has something to do with motherhood and growing up.
Okay.
I think it's a symbol because Wendy admires it.
Mm-hmm.
The mom has it. I can't remember. I literally just listened to it, but I didn't hit. Did they, at the end of the book, when it talks about Wendy growing up, did she have a kiss herself? Did they mention that? The end of
Wendy
the
having
book?
a kiss?
Yeah.
Wendy has a kiss.
at the end of the book, because I know they did
When
it in that
she's
one
old?
Peter Pan movie.
No, Wendy has a kiss. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it gets into her having a kiss. But talk about kiss, it mentions something at the end about the mom giving Peter a kiss.
No, he
Thimble.
No. When he leaves,
Yes.
he takes that kiss with her.
Okay, that's what But it mentions that, and that's weird.
So what's the significance? Is it a is it their childhood?
I think it has to do with, because Peter Pan's story has a lot to do with mothers.
But it has a lot to do with growing up.
See,
Exactly.
I
think it's a combination of those two.
we're already diving really deep into it, but I want to tell my theory of what I think Peter Pan is, and then we can elaborate on this,
All
because
right. Yeah.
you're touching at it, and I told you, I didn't tell you.
Okay, but say it though, because you said this about 2 weeks ago, and
Yeah.
I've just been, or 3 weeks ago, you texted the group, three of us, and you're like, I think I know what Peter Pan is.
I do.
I'm like, what the heck is
You
it?
can disagree with me if you see Peter as something else, but this
Spit
is
her out.
what I believe Peter to be. So it talks about, and we've always thrown around this idea when we hear it, that Peter, it says something about taking, following kids to the grave and stuff.
Yes.
We've always said, oh, Peter's a Grim Reaper type character.
Don't remember it saying that in the book.
It doesn't say Grim Reaper. That's just something that.
Don't remember it saying if he follows them to their grave.
There was a moment. Yeah.
Yes.
Really?
It does.
Where? When?
It doesn't, not to the grave. It mentions something about how he ushers them. I don't remember the
Into
exact
death
language.
or
It's
something,
pretty early
yeah.
in the book.
Yes.
It's pretty early. Ushers them to their death or something. It did say that.
Oh, okay.
It was in that whimsical language.
Yeah.
In the same way where it mentions, very briefly, that Peter Pan is a murderer of lost boys.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
We're getting into that, but I think Peter Pan, we think of that as a negative thing, but I don't think it is. I think what it is, and who Peter Pan is, he is the representation of our dreams as a child. So he is things that as a child you dreamed, your biggest dream as a child, and the dream you had as a child, Peter Pan is that. That, because even like, that's why each character in the book is so different. It's representing something like the dad. He's like just thinking about finances, and he's like an adult, and he's supposed to be that character and representing adulthood and forgetting his or putting off being a boy and having good times. Wendy is representing the transition time going into adulthood, but she hasn't quite got there yet. The mom is representing
motherhood.
Yes. But I think Peter is that, like he said, he follows them to the grave, or he does something to the grave. I think that is representing dreams that people have not been able to fulfill in their life, that they had as a child. They've kept it with them, but they take it with them to the grave because they never fulfilled those dreams that they had as a child.
So you think he is an anthropomorphization of those thoughts and feelings? Yes. I think mine is a similar vein, but I think he is I think he's more of the childhood whimsy, right? He's that bit that you leave behind. Right? When you go from being a child to an adult, you leave that child, right? And I think he's what gets left behind. Yeah. And what it is all of the things that children are and all of the things that they do, right? So when they see Neverland for the first time, right? And it's all the things, it's the place where they had all their adventures, right?
Yes.
So, and when you're a child and you have adventures, you're always swinging a sword, or you're, hunting pirates, or there's fighting monsters, right? The only problem is that once that magic place becomes real, it's when those things are actual physical things, they're real and scary, right? Except Peter remains almost aloof to that, right? As if he's still that child running through the forest with a stick. It's nothing to him. He doesn't really fear. It's almost, and I know his emotions, right, seem real, right? The way he is with Wendy and things, but
they're not really though.
But they're not really.
They're very shallow, very
because
surface.
He forgets.
Yeah,
right.
I think that's part of something that I wanted to get into. I think you saying he has those like loof moments or whatever you say. He doesn't take it to reality because of he forgets or because he is a child. That's interesting to me because I wrote down on my thoughts when I was trying to put out in words what I was getting out of this book, and part of it was Peter is so immature, and I feel like part of saying that you're going to stay a kid forever is not accepting and being, and he is immature, very immature. It's
denying maturing.
Yes, but even more than that, it's just, I think, more of a side effect because of even him, like, forgetting and things like that. There's even, like, a moment where, like, when they're flying to Neverland, he goes off, does something, has an adventure, and then comes back, and they're like, oh, what happened? He was like, oh, I've forgotten.
But, I mean, if you analyze everything he does, right? Everything he does, it's what children do, right? When it mentions how when Lost Boys start to grow up, right? He thins the herd, right? But it's, and he gets angry at the Lost Boys, and they have to do what he says. But it's, when you think about Peter Pan, you're like, how? He's a boy, right? But I mean, think back to when you were a kid. Right? The lead boy made up the story.
Tim.
That's what I was thinking.
The lead boy was in charge of the narrative. He was in charge of his crew. He was in charge of, and if you started to, not want to play the game anymore,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
You were out. You're out. You're not part of it, right?
It literally happened to me. Literally that.
Literally, you were literally
I was
cast
literally
out.
casted out.
In the same way that Peter would have done it.
Yeah.
He would have gathered the crew. He would have written up a physical document, right, saying that you're out.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And
So-
then he would have had everyone take their little pieces of whatever's significant to them. We'll touch them together. We'll say a little chant, and then it's official.
Because everything is real for Peter, and it's not.
Yeah.
Even food. Even food is balances between reality and fiction for Peter, because it's whatever he makes up, right?
Yeah.
And so even, don't fight Captain Hook, he's mine.
Oh yeah,
Right? That's one of his
things.
rules. Or I can't distinguish between the twins, so to me they're essentially the same person,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Well, obviously, he has a very selfish, immaturity outlook on life.
But that's kids.
That's what kids have.
But that's kids.
That's what
Kids are
kids have.
selfish and they're immature, and they show maturity sometimes. Sometimes Peter shows maturity.
The thing is, kids are very courageous and brave because they are ignorant to danger.
Mm-hmm.
So the bravery of Peter Pan is also childish because he's never, he can beat Captain Hook kind of easily. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so when Captain Hook and the thing is, that's what Captain Hook ultimately hates about him, is his cockiness.
Mm-hmm.
And he's cocky because he's not even completely aware of the danger, because in his mind it doesn't exist.
But even that almost plays into Peter's narrative, right? That the villain hates him because of
He's cocky.
because of how cocky he is.
It says
right?
that Captain Hook, when he came into the tree where after they caught all the Lost Boys and John and Michael and Wendy, and Peter's asleep and he poisons his potion, or he poisons his medicine. It says Captain Hook is even pissed at the way Peter was sleeping.
Yeah.
Like with his leg up, with his his flute in his hand
Did
or
you
whatever.
guys, when it says about Hook leaving, right, the tree, the way he goes into the night, he actually does the villain thing where he puts his cape up over his face.
And friggin' Tinkerbell figured out that it was poison because he was muttering to himself. Walking through and be like, I'm poison Peter's medicine.
Yeah.
He's gonna die tonight. Poison
Yeah.
Peter's medicine.
I think. I would agree. It is kind of all those things. Something that stuck out to me in the book, and I've only watched films, and they don't come across this as much as the book because they're films. I mean, is how violent and actually how violent it is. Like when you're reading the book, it's almost like I'm realizing this wasn't just kids playing. This was, he talks about killing pirates.
Yeah,
and
the thing is, it kind of
scalping. They don't want to get caught by the Indians because they will scalp you.
Yeah,
and stuff.
it kind of jolts you. So you're going through, and it kind of reads like the Disney cartoon.
Right.
You know, it reads very similar, and then all of a sudden it talks about, and then Michael kills one of the pirates.
Right.
And then it talks about, and then Michael saw his father, and he realized the pirate he killed was bigger man than his father.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, because kids think in those
Not Michael,
terms.
John.
I think it was Michael.
Was it Michael?
Yeah. Because kids think in those terms. Kids think, wow, this guy is almost as big as my dad, right? Or hey, let's go play under the hangman's tree.
Yeah.
Right? They live in a tree under the hangman's tree, right? Even in the Disney cartoon, it's the hangman's tree.
Yeah.
Right? So for kids, it's like, oh, let's go play amongst the gravestones. Let's go play in the war bullet-ridden, streets, right? It's play for them,
Yeah.
right? Let's kill a pirate.
I think that goes back to the ignorance of kids.
Right.
They're bold and they're courageous because they're ignorant.
But it is real, right?
Yeah, it's real. The courage is real.
No. But in the story, it's real.
Yeah, it's real.
It's there's a part that made me chuckle a little bit when they said they were fighting the Indians and they switched sides and became Indians.
Peter
and then
switched sides.
Yeah, and so the Indians agreed to becoming Lost Boys, and they just kept fighting.
There are okay. Maybe we can talk about this later, but I would love to dive into the aspect of this author's writing, man, and the narrator and everything.
Yeah.
Where the narrator literally gets pissed for a minute at Wendy's mother towards the end. He gets a little pissed, and he's like, "I don't even want to talk about you, but I guess we should." And then
he's like, and then eventually he's like, "Well, she is my favorite character," right?
Which
the narrator has his own story, man.
Who I asked you guys off the podcast to think about this. Who is the main character of this story? I would say mine. I think it's Wendy.
It has to be Wendy.
It has to be Wendy.
But also,
Who has the last word in the book? Was that Peter or Wendy?
It's the narrator. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's Wendy. The main character is Wendy, right?
But the original title of the book is Peter and Wendy.
Yeah.
And Wendy second. What about Wendy and Peter?
Well, it's more like, I don't know. Yeah, it is Peter and Wendy, right? But it's like saying if you have like a fictional best friend, right? It's not about really the fictional best friend. It's about you, And I think the book highlights differences of growing up, especially between boys and girls, right? There's a reason that, Lost Boys, in this it says they fell out of their cradles or their beds and got lost, and that's how they ended up there. But but there's a reason there's no girls in Neverland, because girls grow up too fast, even when they're little, right? They have a maturity about them,
I also found it funny when Wendy's so prominent, and then when it comes to fighting the pirates at the end, it mentions she basically sat back and observed the fighting, and then when the fighting was done, she jumped back in and took lead again. You know what I mean?
Because girls is think about grown up things as they get older, right? Even they're 10 years old and they think about how they're planning out how they want their house to be, or where they want to work, or they do, and and she's the one like mending their socks and their pants and things, and cooking the meals, even if they're not cooking, right? However Peter wants,
Which, by the way, super Peter is kind of a misogynist.
Well, he's a little boy. Every little boy is a misogynist.
You think so?
Every single one of them.
I don't know, man. Maybe. No, I think every little boy is super rude and selfish, and passes off things they don't want to do.
Maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
How did Peter know about the idea of I guess it kind of explains about motherhood a little bit. And it also says that he doesn't really remember his mother, even though he likes to brag about her. Yeah. But how did he even know what mothers do? You know what I mean?
Well, Wendy knows what mothers do.
Yeah.
Right. But what Peter knows isn't important, because as Peter's character is the lead, he knows everything. Right. Peter has the most knowledge because he's the one in charge.
Forgets things, but really fast.
But I think it's important that, I don't know where my thought was going. I lost it. I literally lost it in the moment.
I want to talk about, and I know this is not the story Peter Pan, but it's Steven Spielberg's, this is how I would describe, Hook is what I want to talk about.
Adaptation.
Because I love the movie Hook too. That's something that I grew up with watching, and I love.
It's because it somehow maintains the whimsical aspect, but the setting isn't quite as dark.
No,
right?
I think what it is Steven Spielberg took the story of Peter Pan and took the core, I guess, beliefs or whatever the theme of it, of what Peter is, and he kind of adapted it to create this new story, even if Hook is still in it, and in the book, Hook actually dies.
Well, it's as if Peter never defeated Hook.
Yeah.
And left Neverland, right?
But
so, are you looking?
I'm looking to see who wrote the Hook story. Okay, so Hook screenplay apparently Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
Nick Castle. Okay, James Barry. That's the author of Peter Pan. James V. Hart. I don't know.
But, I mean, we had a lot of theories of Hook. That's kind of what got us interested. We watched Hook, and we wanted to talk about Peter Pan because
Hook.
I love
so
Hook.
Much.
Robin Williams is not known. He played a good Hook. I mean, a Peter Pan.
Yeah.
As growing up.
Yes.
We can get into a lot with Hook on top of Peter Pan, but
Hook is important for the Peter Pan, I guess, cinematic universe.
Yeah.
Because it takes all the best parts of Peter Pan and changes the story a bit, right? Breaks the status quo, mixes up the paradigm, whatever.
Yes.
Don't know what's wrong with my throat. It's Peter as a grown up.
Yeah.
Which is something that's not even really mentioned in the book. Obviously, it's all an elaboration.
Right.
The only thing that's similar is it mentions Wendy being an old woman in the book.
Wendy being an old woman, and there's lots of quotes from the book.
And her daughter.
And her daughter and her granddaughter, right? Even though they have different names. Yeah.
And Wendy can't fly without him because Peter helps her fly.
Right. But I mean, if you think about it, it falls into that, that boy narrative where he's like, "Oh, we're about to drown," and then he's like, "But wait, I can make a boat out of this nest," right? And so he makes a boat out of the Neverbird's nest, and he takes its eggs and puts it in Starkey's hat, right? And then the narrator goes on to explain how Neverbirds from then on make their nests in the shape of the hat. Right.
Hold on. Did I miss something?
Yeah.
No.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It does stuff like that.
Okay, because I thought he attached a kite.
That was Wendy, but not
Wendy
Peter.
flies away.
Peter saves himself with the nest.
Yeah, he does.
Oh,
and he takes off his shirt and uses it as a sail. Little kid things.
See, it's the details. The writer wrote it to have a narrator. The narrator just goes into some detail, and obviously it's a little bit older English, and so some of the phrasing is a little foreign to if you're not used to it. And so sometimes I just get caught up on like, oh, that's a funny way to say that word or that sentence, and then I have not listened to the next 4 sentences, and I completely missed the whole part about the nest and the shirt and the sail and the hat.
Maybe you should read it like 4 more times, and then we get this podcast over.
No.
I do like.
I remember a lot of it. I'm just saying it's hard to keep up with.
I thought that the detail that Hook's blood is a strange color, right? Is an interesting detail.
I thought it was strange to him because he doesn't like the sight of his own blood. He doesn't like the idea of showing weakness, and so when he sees his blood, it's a strange color to him because he doesn't see it often. You know what I mean? I thought that's kind of what he was trying to get across.
I think it's that it's
literally
I think
a strange color.
They say that Hook's blood is kind of a strange color, whether it be too dark or too light, or I don't know.
Taking a complete
cancers.
The alligator,
Crocodile.
the crocodile is. Do you know what it is? It's the exact same thing as what we were, or what you guys were trying to create in Dying of the Leaves, the monster.
Representation of death.
Representation of death and time. Always ticking and following you. That was something that I picked up.
When that clock eventually stops ticking, right, and you don't hear the crocodile coming, it'll get you.
Yeah,
It's what I think Smee says. He's like telling the captain, he's like, well, at least that clock is ticking. That way we
but
know.
then it'll turn into Andrew.
Yeah.
Right? Andrew?
What?
From Dying of the Leaves?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, the monster did turn into Andrew.
It did turn into Andrew. But it stopped being a monster, though.
Mm-hmm. You just have to accept your fate. That the crocs can always get you.
It'll get you.
It'll get you.
Get you. The interesting thing to me, actually, the thing that stood out to me the most was when the Lost Boys and Michael and John and Wendy get captured by the pirates, and Captain Hook, that little section where he's going in to find Peter, and it was slightly that gave away a detail that they could find Peter and all that other stuff. Mm-hmm. That stood out to me the most for some reason, and I don't know why. I think the thing about Captain Hook is he's very misunderstood. I think he is a little bit of a coward.
Mm-hmm. He is a coward.
He's
got good form though, or it once good form.
Yeah.
He thinks about good form, that's for sure.
I think he's a coward. He is misunderstood, and nobody's ever on his side. Even the only person that might be on his side is Shmi, and even he wasn't that loyal to him. You know.
Well, it seems like he is the epitome of what a child thinks a grown-up is, right? Somebody who thinks about everything they do, and somebody who is afraid of dying, who even going so far as to be afraid of their own blood, you know, who is in charge and ruthless and will kill somebody at the drop of the hat.
And
right?
it's interesting because he's easy for Peter Pan to kill. Mm-hmm. And it's almost still like Peter's idea that, oh, I'm still better than a grown-up. Like,
right.
I still know better than them. Like, I understand things better than them. I could take them on intellectually, or I'm stronger than they are. Mm-hmm. You know, you always are devaluing adults when you're young.
Yeah.
Because you are ignorant, but you think everyone else
yeah,
is.
And that's I mean, even Hook says the line, I remember it because it was in the movie. He says, "No little children love me."
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know, kids don't like Hook. Kids don't like, you know, the bad guy, right? Mm-hmm. Which is a big point in the movie Hook, because, you know, that's half the movie is him making Jack love like him as a father instead of Peter, and making him forget, right?
Wow.
This whole story is full of narratives of this and that. Why do they have a dog for a nurse? That's weird.
Again, it's the whimsy of it. You know, we know that she doesn't actually like physically tuck them into bed. Mm-hmm. Or that she doesn't actually like physically, you know, what
are you thinking?
Make like tie their bows and stuff and get them ready for school. But it's anthropomorphization, right? People do it, right? It's like when the dog walks in the room, it's like, oh, she's a little nanny. Look, she's getting the kids ready for school, and so the dog walks with the kids and hangs out with the kids and you know, thinks about the kids, but it's not actually, you know.
Mm-hmm. But Mr. Darling literally stays in the doghouse,
right,
for however long they were gone. He just lives in the doghouse.
He gets famous for it.
He gets famous for being in the doghouse.
Yeah.
Freaking beautiful dames come up on his way home from work. He gets people to carry him in the doghouse to the car, drives to work, does his work in the doghouse. He comes back.
He's so epically depressed, and it's a statement. It's a statement that he was wrong, right? And that he didn't pay enough attention to his kids.
But then he just turns into, he likes the fame.
I mean, well, he likes it, but it doesn't go to his head. It mentions that. It mentions, like, he never lets it go to his head. Almost in, like, a tongue-in-cheek kind of way. He never lets it go to his head.
I don't know. Doesn't Miss Darling, the mother, ask him about it?
I don't think so.
I think she, at one point, asks him, are you growing to just enjoy this?
It's like, no. No.
Well, obviously he says no. In the same way with the little back and forth with John and the medicine, and him wanting to take his medicine there at the beginning. That was funny.
I
It made me
think
laugh.
that's supposed to show that he's a grown up,
but he's
also a kid,
Yeah.
right? Because I think that's part of the boys and girls mature differently. Because he's like running around the room with Michael on his shoulders because he's having as much fun as they are, right? But he has to be a grown up, right? He has to be a man,
Yeah,
right?
And make the money is what they talked about.
Like
a lot.
breadwinner.
it's almost like it puts it into perspective of the wife wishes, right? She wishes she could be a kid again. Right, and but that's long gone. She's an adult. That's what she is, right? But it's almost like the husband is a kid, but he has to be an adult. For Wendy's mother, she can never be a kid again.
She won't allow herself to.
No, like she can't, and she
'Cause she has that
misses
kiss.
it. Right,
She has that
she misses being a child, but it's almost like men are children who have to be adults, right?
Which is actually true in a lot of ways.
Like the little back and forth banter with Michael. He's like, no, father, you take your medicine first. He's like, no. Michael, no, you take it first.
Mine is far more yucky.
Right. And then he doesn't want to do it so bad. He's like, oh, let's put it in Nana's bowl, right?
After he said we'll do it at the same time,
He
and then
doesn't
John
do it.
takes his and he's like, "Whoop."
They're like,
He puts it
father,
behind his
really?
back.
And he's
He's
like,
like, I have an idea. This will be funny.
yeah,
Let's give it to the
this'll be
dog.
funny,
We'll laugh at her reaction.
right?
that made me laugh though.
Yeah. What would you say the character that you resonated with the most, or just I don't know, you like?
Probably John.
John?
John.
Why?
Yeah.
Why John?
I don't know. He's obviously there. He's close age to Wendy. He's not as young as Michael. He was the bravest of the group. I'm pretty sure John's the one that killed the pirate. He adopted the Lost Boys mentality very quickly. He was very adaptable, and then also he snapped back into reality when he got home. It took Michael a minute.
Yeah, I think Michael held on to his childhood the longest, being able to fly even up until he was like in his teens or something.
Yeah.
The thing is, I think John's very level-headed and he's adaptable.
I think John is the kid who
And he's brave.
John is the best kid. Right?
Yeah.
John is the smartest kid.
Kid.
He's the kid that can lead and can,
But
make up the stories and can have fun.
And he looks good. He wears
And he
hats.
looks good, but there's the charismatic kid is the leader, right? It's the charismatic kid who's
But
in charge.
they did say though at one point, like he said, get under your covers or something like that, and they mentioned that was the only time he took lead of
John?
something. Yeah.
Well, he
Well, yeah,
couldn't-
because he was with Peter.
he couldn't in the
Yeah.
story because Peter was in charge.
And Peter
right?
almost every time somebody gives an order that's not Peter, the narrator literally does an inside of the brain processing of what Peter's thinking about it, about other people telling anybody.
I
what
guess,
to do.
yeah.
Peter's so obsessed with control and being the one in charge.
And it's not that I don't know that Peter necessarily really thinks about it. He thinks about it, but it's like, but that's his thing. He's in charge. He's the leader, right? And you do what the lead boy does, right? Because he's making up the stories. He's the one who will take you to the adventure always, and he's the one who will go off and have adventures with the other kids and leave you out and not even think about it.
Yeah.
I've known these people growing up, right? Because I was always more like Toodles.
You lost your marbles?
No,
Tell a little bit about Toodles.
oh,
for
because
us.
Toodles would go to get something, right, or go
And
do something
be
and
left
miss
out.
the adventure. That's the importance of the line in
But
Hook.
that's what made him innocent.
In Hook, he says, "I've missed it again. I've missed the adventure
Yeah.
again, haven't I, Peter?"
Yeah.
Right? Because that was,
I
Poor
didn't notice
Toodles,
that till,
man.
yeah, it made him humble, right?
Poor Toodles.
I feel like I missed a lot of adventures.
You're like, I
Right?
really resonate with that son of a gun.
Yeah.
So I like Toodles a lot. I think you're right, though. I think John's the better leader, right? He would be if that crazy crack daddy Peter wasn't stealing the show.
Yeah.
Hey, he's not a crazy crack daddy.
We like
he's
crazy crack dads.
We love our actual real life friends who did this.
You talking about Tim? Because
we're talking about our real life friends who stole the show and took us on so many adventures, right?
Yes.
But if you think about it, there's some times where you're like, I think I would be better as the leader here.
For sure. I mean, that's the thing. If I'm gonna think about it, I know I keep bringing up Tim, but I can't help it. I really resonate with John because I think in many ways Tim was like Peter and I was like John growing up. Mm-hmm. And it's like I could be in charge. I could take control. But many times I'm not as charismatic as Tim. Yeah. And so when we were younger, he did take a little bit of lead. And there was some times where I shined through, but at some times he might rein me back a little. Because
sometimes you're like, all right, where should this story go? Where should we start? And the other kid's like, here we go! And just jumps out a window.
Follow me!
Yeah. And all the other kids are like, yeah!
Yeah, he's jumping out of a window. Let's go with him, man. He's cooler.
I don't know.
He's running through the woods. He knows where he's going.
I wouldn't jump out of the window with Tim.
He's just going to look for a snake to poke.
Yeah. Any snake. Really, anything.
Snake. Tim poked a snake while I was in the water. I was eye to eye with the snake.
For real?
Right? It was a
when
copperhead.
When did this happen?
Okay. So little side story here, right?
We got to get Tim
We're
on
at camp and we're sliding down that little rock thing, it had the water rushing over it, had algae, so it was really fun to slide down, right? Mm-hmm. Well, the water was kind of low, but it was still fun. Mm-hmm. And so I slide down and I'm like, yeah, and I look up and I can see under the rock where there's a little ledge and I see copperhead, yeah, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just slowly move to where I can get out.
Because copperheads can move in
that
water.
Was the year I had a broken arm. That's probably why I was there, because I couldn't swim.
So Tim slides down, and I'm like, Tim, careful. There's a snake. He's like, oh, really? Gets a stick and starts poking. He's like poking at it, and I'm like frantically trying to get out of the water.
I could outrun this cuss on land, but not in water.
Because I'm downstream.
Yeah.
Where's that snake gonna go?
Downstream,
man. And it's gonna be mad at someone.
There's a human gonna bite his
snakes,
butt.
We don't look different.
Exactly. Snakes are a scorn on the land.
They are.
Hey, can we talk about something before we cut this podcast off?
Yeah.
I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the mainstream Peter Pan movies, and let's just quickly talk through them. I think there's like five of them I have. Tell us if you think it was good or not, and we'll give a solid recommendation. Yeah. There's one that I think none of us have seen that I saw the trailer for, and it came out last year, and it looks really good.
Okay.
I'll
give it. I think I know which one you're talking about. We looked that up.
Okay. So obviously all the way over there we got the actual movie called Peter Pan. What did we think of that?
Who's in that?
See, I liked that one. I liked that one.
I kind of liked it too.
Wyatt?
Who's in that?
I don't know his name. I don't have the poster with the people. I kind of liked it.
I liked that one.
Is that the one you were talking about? You said was trash?
I watched it years ago, right?
It was on Peacock for 5 minutes. We were about to watch it, and then it got kicked off Peacock.
So I watched it years ago, I was like, it's too dark, right? But I hadn't read the book then. I didn't know that the book was supposed to be dark, right? Mm-hmm. And then after I read the book years later, I was like, that movie may be closer to what the book actually, and even in the movie when he's trying to revive Tink, right? And he sort of uses the imaginations and the belief of kids, right? Because in the when I watched the movie, I'm like, oh, that's cringe, right? But it was more true to the book, right?
I think they followed it pretty close, honestly.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it another watch, but I still think probably I was good at evaluating movies as a kid. I mean, maybe not the Indian in the cupboard.
Okay, so the live action Peter Pan, recommend.
Don't know, can't.
All right, I'm gonna recommend it.
Wendy?
Wendy.
Seen Wendy.
That's the one that came out last year.
I've not seen it.
Is it?
It looks good. It's not it's not a true Peter Pan movie, but it's inspired from Peter Pan. It has to do with childhood imaginations. And the whole cast is really young kids. And it looks really good. It's PG-13, so it's not like...
Wow.
It's PG-13, guys.
It's not...
We're going to watch it. I'm telling you, it looks really good. Yeah. I don't know if it actually is. We should watch this together, audience. Mm-hmm. Let's do it together. Finding Neverland.
Bored.
That was good,
Hard,
but it was...
yes.
That was good, but it wasn't... it's not Peter Pan, really.
Again, I watched it probably when I was in, like 12 or 13, and I was like, this is boring.
Rewatch it.
It was decent.
Because you start to appreciate the actual story development and live drama play side of things, because that's what it's pretty much about. It's about the development of the story.
Peter Pan.
Yeah, Finding Neverland, and then we have the one that everyone knows and loves.
Everybody knows Peter Pan.
What did we think of this? Is it still good? Does it hold up?
It holds up for kids.
There's one scene. With the natives.
No,
I mean, there's literally on Disney Plus. There's a warning, right, that says this represents certain peoples not as
Does it really?
Yeah, it actually says that before the movie. That. It's like this. It's not an accurate.
That means it's one step away from being canceled.
Right, like it's kind of
all
it's
we
a little
gotta
racist.
do is to get somebody.
to
get some attention.
It's a question
to
that
tweet
everybody
about it,
has,
and it's gonna be gone.
It's a question everybody has.
No, we're not asking it here.
Okay, I was gonna ask it.
We're not asking it, but hey, quick! If you enjoy the cartoon Peter Pan, the the classic one you grew up with, and you want to watch it again before it's gone forever, quick, go do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because it's gone at
or
any day now.
Get a copy of it.
Also, I noticed on Amazon Prime, there's one called Neverland, which is it came out a few years ago.
Oh, with Hugh Jackman.
Is it really?
Yes.
No.
Hugh Jackman plays.
No, that one's called Pan.
That one's called Pan, and I did watch that, and it was one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Agreed.
I agree.
Hugh Jackman should have stayed out of that one, bro.
Yes, I agree.
Just get out.
And then we're all gonna agree on Hook. Yes,
Hook. There's hard. Yes.
You know what? Part of the thing about Hook, I think Spielberg was smart to stay away from like the Indian stuff.
And maybe the actual Peter Pan story.
Yeah,
honestly,
he was smart to stay. Because it's like, honestly, it's like obvious. I don't want to offend anybody, right?
Well, but the Peter Pan, I mean, they called him Redskin, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It's kind of an offensive story in today's climate.
Oh yeah,
very.
Oh yeah.
It's not PC.
No,
but
but everybody can watch Hook.
Everybody can watch Hook,
right?
Yeah.
Except for pirates. It's a little prejudice against pirates.
I mean, but you look at some of their outfits, and I'm like, that Hook's hat. I kind of want to be a pirate.
Give me that feather, dog.
It's all feather, like the whole time. Every time. Can we also say Dustin Hoffman's Hook is so good? He's fantastic. And even though he's like,
is that what it is? Why?
Even with his his little hook things, like the way he holds his mouth with his teeth kind of out, right, like that. It's somehow it works.
Yeah.
And the freaking little ticking mustache.
There's
a lot of good stuff with Hook. Out of all the recommendations,
fantastic.
We're gonna watch Wendy together, audience.
We are?
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna watch Wendy together. But we're also
gonna watch Hook together.
If you haven't seen Hook, you are missing out.
And can we talk about this this poster? Magnificent.
Oh yeah, there's a lot happening.
Is it? I think it's fantastic, Wyatt. I think it's fantastic.
Oh, did I not say fantastic yet?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
We have to give a shout out to I can't even think what his name now. Dante Bosco.
Dante Bosco is Rufio.
Rufio.
Yeah.
Rufio.
Oh. All right. Let's finish this little puppy off.
Mm-hmm.
I brought us out last week, so one of you boys take it.
We have a couple channels here on YouTube. We have Wiseworks Create. We just came out with a small little video about a mural artist here local to Virginia, so go watch that. We also have Wiseworks Films. Entertainment, yes. And another channel, Wiseworks Films, is our website.
Okay. I wonder, how should we plug this?
Mm-hmm.
Should we just say go to wiseworksfilms.com and say you can find everything there
Yeah, we could.
and subscribe to this channel?
Yes.
Is that
Yeah.
easier?
Do that.
And this is the podcast channel, guys. Wiseworks Podcast. But also there's Wiseworks Insta.
We got Patreon. We're on TikTok. Hey, we're
on
setting up a
TikTok.
Twitter. Hey, man.
We'll eventually get all the names. It just has one.
Well, the thing is, okay, this is the easiest thing for you to do. Subscribe here, but you can access everything we have from the website, wiseworksfilms.com. If you want to find anything else, that's the easiest place. But if you're here on YouTube, subscribe here. If you're on Apple Podcast or Spotify listening, follow the page, and everything that we do can be found on the website, wiseworksfilms.com.
Yep.
Thanks for...
have a good day. Good night.
Thank you for
and-
believing. That's where you were going.
Yeah.
That's kind of... I was getting there. Friggin', do you believe in fairies?
No, I like Wyatt's better.
Clap your hands if you... Yes.
Thanks for playing our game.
That was
a great game.